Hello, everyone. We are here with author Natalie Bailey of Shame, Pain, Gain 7 Steps to a Turnaround. This is a phenomenal, phenomenal book, and I encourage everyone to go out and get a copy. And so we have some exciting news coming up because in October, drum roll please, we have the amazing opportunity of reading through this wonderful book together. And this is not just any book. I'm telling you, this book was written by a phenomenal, I like to call her Dr., even though she's probably going to kill me for saying that, but Dr. Natalie Bailey wrote an amazing book. And she's, before we get into it, I just want you to talk a little bit about, I just want to share a little bit about who she is and why this is such an amazing opportunity. It's such an honor for me to even connect with you tonight. She is a teacher. She is not just a teacher, but a teaching consultant. She is amazing, phenomenal in the classroom, and she helps others. She taught English. So writing just kind of comes naturally, I'm pretty sure, to you, huh?
Well, writing is definitely a process. So I want to start by saying thank you so much for having me on this platform to get my voice out into the earth and to share my story. And no, I'm not a doctor yet. I'm pursuing that, but in due time, I will be a doctor.
Amen.
So the question that you asked me is what started me in writing?
Yeah. Yeah. What
Um,
influenced your desire to write?
So what influenced me to write? Well, I've been writing since I was a tween. And I went to camp one year with our church, and I wrote a story about fear. And surprisingly, the camp directors published it in the newsletter that they had out there for children.
Wow.
And so that kind of sparked my interest. I've always been a journal writer, so I've always journaled. Things that happened to me throughout my process and just kind of processing my thoughts. I have a lot of journals in my house. So that kind of was my springboard to writing. And then, of course, when I went to school and went to college, I majored in English
Mhm.
literature because I like to read and I like to think and just be creative in my thoughts. So that kind of was my springboard for me to want to start writing and start sharing my story, which was based on an experience that I had. So my book is really based on an experience that I
Right.
had. So it's not my first, it is my first book, but I have written other books as well that I did not publish. But I just kind of like to house my thoughts and house my ideas. Um, so I did publish this one, Dancing with Time. And this is
Wow.
more of a book of like poetry, and I just kind of reflected on like family traditions, and I had some loved ones that went ahead. And so I just kind of wrote some tributes to them. And then
That's
I would just
beautiful.
be creative in creating cards for people and writing acrostics and giving them to people at the holidays and framing them very
Mm.
nicely and making my own personalized cards. And so that was another form of my writing as well. And another thing that influenced me to write is, I've been a member of the what we call now the TAB, but it was GBT. And I used to write the newsletters for the church
No
with another
idea.
sister. And I used to do that based on the sermons that I would hear and the word that would be. So I would kind of put that in written format and write. And I also published this one called The Theophany of Time. And that's more based on sermons and sermonic reflections that I've heard. And I just put them into some type of narrative. So these are not professionally published. These are self-published books. And just keep my writing in some type of format so that I can see for myself the growth that I've um, experienced in writing and getting my thoughts out there because it is kind of very um, daunting to put your thoughts out to the world because you just don't know the type of reaction that you would get.
Right.
But it's kind of like an unveiling. You unveil your inner
Wow.
thoughts and
Mm.
you share them with the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like you stated, first of all, that's amazing. I didn't even know that. I mean, you are, I feel like every time I connect with you, there's a different layer. Like, I mean, just learning more and more and more about how dynamic you are. And you're absolutely right. When it comes to writing, it's very personal. I know from me, myself, it's very, very personal.
Mhm.
So putting it out there is a huge step. So I'm just excited that you put it out there for us to learn and for us to glean from your wisdom, to be able to come together and not only celebrate you, but to learn from your experiences and to learn the wisdom. I'm sure you've gleaned a lot of wisdom over the years. And by having that front row seat to hear those sermons and receive wisdom and impartations and just the word of God coming to you and being able to reflect on them and to have the skill set and the determination and just the drive to write from such an early age. I think that's phenomenal. I meet a lot of people who start off by usually journaling, like you mentioned as well. So the fact that you are now professionally published author is a big deal. A
It
big deal.
To
A
God be the
big
glory on that.
deal.
And
And I am,
it took me 10 years to
wow.
put my story out there. And it was like I said, it was daunting at first, but then it was liberating
Yes.
after I was able to share my story. And
Mhm.
I verbally got to share my story when we had our convocations. And one convocation, I was asked to share my story of deliverance, and it was so
Wow.
powerful. And that was the first time that I had voiced my experience, and I felt so liberated after that. And so after I took my notes that I wrote down to share, and I actually took those notes and put them into script form, and I just said, you know what, it's time for me to start writing.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
didn't seem like it came to fruition until I voiced it in the atmosphere, like I spoke
Wow.
it.
Hmm.
And then once I spoke it, it just kind of took form and it took life and it took oh, and I was able to put it into a manuscript and then go to a
Mm.
company and they published it. So
Wow. That is exciting. And I know that the best part is when you get a chance to hold it in your hand. It's like, look what I did.
yeah,
And I
it's
can't
like
stop picking up your book. It's like here it is. I've been working on this 10 years.
yes,
10 years of your
mhm,
life.
yes.
10 years. And
And
this is
that's just
absolutely
one
beautiful.
side. It's just one side of my single story. There are
Mhm.
definitely other facets to the story, but that was the one poignant part that I felt should in written format. And it's
Yeah.
very simplistic. It doesn't follow a traditional story style. I'm just sharing my testimony,
Mhm.
and that's just my first start. But I do have other writings that I have started to do for other books that will
Yes.
take on more of a narrative style and a more, defined measure of writing.
Yeah. I love that. And I think what gets me so excited is when writers get started, or authors rather, get started, and then there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. It's almost as if like I did the first one, jumped over the hump, and it's like there's just so more. I feel like it
Right.
frees you to release everything
It
that's within
does.
you.
It
Yeah.
does. It's like bubbling in me. Like, sometimes I have stuff written everywhere. Like I have
Oh
notes
my
in my
goodness.
cell phone. If I'm looking at a movie, I'm like, that's an idea. So then I jot,
Yes.
jot notes in my cell phone or I write things in my journal. I have things on
Hmm.
sheets of paper.
Yeah.
So it's just like thoughts come to me at random times. It could come
Hmm.
to me while I'm, having my devotion or when I'm taking my morning walk or listening to a song. It just comes to me at random times. So I always have to have something to write it down so I don't forget the way it was given to me.
Wow. That is so powerful. And I tend to tease people. Me personally, I write, I mean, I've written on the backs of receipts, candy wrappers, everything. First thing I can
Yeah,
find, because like you said, once you receive it, you want to write it the way you heard it, because
exactly.
a week later, 2 weeks later, you
You
may not
forget it.
remember. You'll know it
Exactly.
was something, but you may not remember exactly what. So I love the fact that this skill of writing was ingrained in you at such, an early age, the desire to write. And then the fact that you had the courage to release it, regardless of how many years it took, you had the courage, the willingness, and the determination to release it. And I think that's powerful in itself. 10 years, that alone is a testimony.
Yes.
Wow. So there's so much I do want to say, but I know that when we get into our book club for October, we're going to unpack, and I'll show you guys just a little snippet. I can't show you too much because you have to go buy the book yourself, but I'll show you a little snippet of what you can expect. So we're going to be talking about, just like the name implies, shame, pain, gain, 7 steps to a turnaround. So without revealing all the goodies until you guys buy it, what do you hope that others will take away from your book? I mean, I know this was definitely a journey, and it was a form of release for you when you released it verbally. But what do you want or desire for others to take away? What is the central goal that you're looking for your readers to have?
So what I hope that others will take away is a personal healing journey of their own.
Mm.
And that people could see facets of their life that they believe God could heal. And, without revealing too much, it deals with addictions and different forms. So, it doesn't have to be sexual addictions. It could be overeating. It could be gambling. It could be whatever the case may be that one may be addicted to that is harping a stronghold in
Right.
their life. So what I hope that others will take away from the book is a healing process, a healing journey,
Yeah.
self-reflection, just allowing God to be the center of their core, in that whatever it is that they're struggling with. So I just hope that others will be healed and that they'll be able to see like they can definitely overcome what it is that they may be battling with.
Mm. Do you mind if I read the back, or you may desire to read? Because I really want. I know people are thinking like, okay, we've wet their palate a little bit, gave them a little bit, and they're probably thinking, what is this book about? You guys
Mhm.
definitely have to go purchase it. But do you mind if we read the back of it, just to
Sure,
give an idea? And I
sure.
can read it if you like.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
I,
or
yeah,
you can, author.
yeah, I
It's
can.
completely up to you.
So I'll just read the top part.
Yes, yes.
Uh, that healing is something that does not come naturally unless the person wants to be restored.
Mm,
On the upward trajectory of life, moments come that halt growth and hinder our real truths, which prevent us from reaching the spiritual zenith that God has ordained for our lives. This book explores the inner thoughts of the after effects of addiction in any form.
mm.
So that's what I hope that
Wow,
people would take away, that they could, first, it needs to start in your mind.
absolutely.
Healing starts in your mind. You have to make a decision.
Oh,
So
that's
first you got
good.
to make a decision.
That's
Then you have
good.
to acknowledge that there is a problem. And then you need to let God do the rest.
Mm.
So
Whew,
that's
I'm
that's kind of
excited.
the gist. That's
I
kind of
mean,
the
I'm
gist.
excited. I'm trying to measure my words because I don't want to release too much. They have to tune in for our podcast episodes and join in the discussion. But this is powerful. And one thing you said that was very, very, it stood out a lot for me, where you said, on the upward trajectory of life, moments come that halt growth and hinder our real truths. So, on this platform, Truth Talks, all we're about is truth,
Mhm.
and many times we don't understand the real truth and what God is really trying to reveal to us because we're blinded by pain or by trauma or by addiction or areas that haven't been fully healed. And so it's almost like when you wear sunglasses. I did an example with one of my students before. If they put Vaseline on their glasses, you can't really, you see some sort of a figure, but you don't really see truth. It looks
Mhm.
distorted. And so when you're not healed, a lot of your vision is distorted. You can't see through the correct lens of healing. You can't see the truth of what God may want you to see. So I'm getting, everyone knows I get fired up when I start talking about things like this, but I am so excited and so thankful that you enabled us to have this time to just to kind of give a little insight as to what the book's about and what we can look forward to in October. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. And to those who may be wondering, where can I get this amazing book? I am glad you asked. This book can be purchased on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And once again, it is called Shame, Pain. Make sure you guys can see Shame, Pain, Gain. 7 steps to a turnaround.
Yes.
So please purchase your copy today, and we look forward to seeing you in the book club starting in October.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sister Natalie,
Thank
for
you.
joining us, for chatting with us, and we look forward to uncovering each of those parts, those chapters, so we can go on our healing journey ourselves. Thank you for paving the way for us and for writing an amazing book that will help us lead into that journey of healing and wholeness. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys later.
All right. Be
Thank
blessed.
you.